The introduction to the fall of Berlin marks a pivotal moment in the narrative of World War II, encapsulating events that led to the collapse of Nazi Germany and the end of the Third Reich. The fall of Berlin refers specifically to the final major offensive of the European theater between the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany, culminating in the capture of Berlin in May 1940. This event was of immense significance. It not only represented the military defeat of one of the most powerful and destructive regimes in modern history, but also symbolized the ideological triumph over fascism, heralding a new geopolitical order that eventually led to the Cold War. The importance of this point in the overarching topic cannot be understated. The fall of Berlin effectively accelerated the end of World War II in Europe, leading to Germany's unconditional surrender on May 7, 1940. It also marked a shift in global power dynamics, with the Soviet Union asserting its influence over Eastern Europe and setting the stage for decades of East-West tension. Two specific examples illustrate the magnitude of this event. Firstly, the Battle of Berlin was one of the bloodiest battles in history, involving approximately 2.5 million Soviet troops and resulting in massive casualties on both sides. Secondly, the fall is perhaps most famously underscored by the discovery of Adolf Hitler's suicide on April 30, 1940, which was emblematic of the broader collapse of the Nazi leadership. Opinions regarding the fall of Berlin often emphasize its role in liberating Europe from tyranny. Many historians argue that the Soviet victory was crucial in bringing about peace, despite the Iron Curtain that subsequently fell over Eastern Europe. However, some controversies arise surrounding the Soviet conduct during the offensive, particularly allegations of widespread atrocities committed by Soviet troops, sparking a debate over the brutal nature of retribution. The fall of Berlin also influences other aspects of the main topic by highlighting the devastation and desperation that characterized the final days of the Third Reich. It underscores the failure of the Nazi leadership and their miscalculations, contributing to a broader understanding of how totalitarian regimes can crumble under the weight of their ambitions and misdeeds. This event not only concluded a horrific chapter in history, but also catalyzed post-war reconstruction and reconciliation efforts that sought to rebuild a fractured world and prevent future global conflicts. The heading, Prelude to the Siege, Strategic Importance, dives into the pivotal period leading up to the Siege of Berlin, underscoring the city's strategic significance in the final stages of World War II. Berlin was not just the capital of Nazi Germany. It was also the symbolic heart of Hitler's Third Reich. The city's capture was crucial for the Allied powers, as taking Berlin would decisively mark the collapse of Nazi Germany and the end of the war in Europe. The strategic importance of Berlin lay in its political and military functions, serving as the command center for the Nazi regime, housing key military installations, communications hubs, and factories crucial for the war effort. The significance of this point is monumental. The fall of Berlin would not only signal the demise of the Third Reich, but also serve as a turning point in world history, marking the Allied victory in Europe and setting the stage for post-war reconstruction and geopolitics. Capturing Berlin meant dismantling the core of Nazi leadership and infrastructure, effectively crippling German resistance and hastening the war's end. One example illustrating Berlin's strategic importance is the intense planning and resource allocation by the Soviet Union under Stalin, who prioritized the capture of Berlin to assert Soviet dominance in Europe and influence post-war borders. Another example is the contentious debate among Allied leaders, particularly between the United States, the United Kingdom, and the Soviet Union, about who should lead the final assault on Berlin, highlighting its critical significance. Supporters of focusing on Berlin argue that its capture was essential for swiftly ending the war and minimizing further casualties. However, potential challenges and controversies arose from the high cost of assaulting a heavily fortified city, resulting in significant military and civilian casualties. There were also debates on whether bypassing Berlin could have led to a more efficient conclusion to the conflict. This point connects to other aspects of the fall of Berlin by setting the stage for the final battle and influencing subsequent events, such as the division of Berlin and Germany, which played critical roles in the Cold War dynamics. Understanding the strategic importance of Berlin helps contextualize the military decisions, political negotiations, and human experiences during this tumultuous period, offering valuable insights into the complexities of ending the war and shaping the modern world. Key battles and military tactics played a crucial role in the fall of Berlin, marking the end of the Third Reich during World War II. This concept refers to the strategic maneuvers and engagements between the Allied forces and the German military, which ultimately led to the capture of Berlin and the downfall of Nazi Germany. Understanding these battles and tactics is significant, as they not only highlight the military prowess and strategies employed during the final days of the war, but also reflect the desperation and decline of the Third Reich. One major example is the Battle of Seelow Heights, which served as a precursor to the Battle of Berlin. Fought from April 16 to April 19, 1945, this battle saw the Soviet Union's Red Army employing a massive artillery bombardment, followed by waves of infantry assaults against the German defenses. The strategic significance of this battle lies in its position as the last major line of defense before Berlin, and its capture by Soviet forces was instrumental in paving the way for the subsequent assault on the city itself. Another pivotal example is the encirclement strategy used during the Battle of Halby, where Soviet forces aimed to trap the remnants of the German Ninth Army. This maneuver, executed from April 24 to May 1, 1940, successfully prevented German troops from reinforcing Berlin, thereby weakening the city's defenses. The logistical intricacies and aggressive tactics displayed in these battles underscore the effectiveness of Soviet military strategy and contributed directly to the rapid collapse of Nazi resistance in Berlin. Opinions on these battles often highlight the sheer scale of human loss and the devastating impact on both soldiers and civilians. Supporters of the aggressive tactics argue that they were necessary to bring a decisive end to the war and to defeat a regime responsible for immense atrocities. However, there are also challenges and controversies, including the high civilian casualties resulting from urban warfare and the ethical implications of some military decisions made during these operations. In relation to the broader topic of the fall of Berlin, these battles and tactics were interconnected with political, social, and economic factors that marked the Third Reich's end. The military defeat in Berlin signaled not just a tactical victory for the Allies, but also a symbolic collapse of Nazi ideology and power structures. The strategic operations during these final battles influenced post-war territorial divisions and the initiation of the Cold War, thus shaping the geopolitical landscape for decades to come. Understanding these elements provides valuable insights into the complexity and legacy of the fall of Berlin. The role of Allied forces in the fall of Berlin was pivotal and marked the decisive end to the Third Reich. This concept refers to the coordinated military effort by the Allies, primarily the United States, the Soviet Union, and the United Kingdom, to bring about the defeat of Nazi Germany in World War II. The significance of the Allied forces' role in the fall of Berlin lies in their successful execution of strategic operations that directly led to the surrender of Germany and the cessation of hostilities in Europe. This not only marked the end of World War II in Europe, but also signaled the collapse of Hitler's regime and the liberation of Europe from Nazi occupation and tyranny. One significant example of the Allies' role is the Soviet Union's Operation Berlin in April 1940, which was crucial in encircling and capturing the German capital. The Red Army's relentless advance, characterized by massive artillery bombardments and fierce infantry assaults, overwhelmed the German defenses. This operation culminated in the Battle of Berlin, resulting in the suicide of Adolf Hitler and the unconditional surrender of German forces. Another key example is the Western Allies' strategic bombing campaign, which severely crippled Germany's industrial capabilities and disrupted military operations. This air offensive, coupled with the D-Day landings in Normandy, facilitated the opening of a second front that significantly diverted German resources and weakened their ability to defend the Eastern Front against the Soviet advance. Supporters of the Allied strategy argue that their collaboration, resource pooling, and shared military tactics were instrumental in outmaneuvering and overpowering Nazi forces, ultimately bringing about peace in Europe. However, challenges and controversies exist regarding the immense civilian casualties and destruction caused by the intense urban warfare and bombing campaigns. Some critics argue that the sheer scale of violence and devastation, particularly in Berlin, led to unnecessary suffering and ethical questions about military conduct in densely populated areas. The fall of Berlin and the Allied victory underscored the futility of the Nazi war machine and prompted a reorganization of global power structures, influencing the post-war landscape and the onset of the Cold War. Additionally, the collaboration between the Allies set a precedent for international cooperation to maintain peace and prevent future global conflicts. The role of the Allied forces in the fall of Berlin thus not only facilitated the end of the Third Reich, but also reshaped the political and social fabric of the world in the following decades.